One night, I'm waiting for the record to play out. I said, I wonder if I put that to myself. I said, if they're waiting for this particular break and I have a couple more records that's got the same breakup in it, I wonder how would it be if I put them all together. And I told them, I said, I'm going to try something new tonight. I'm going to call it a merry-go-round.
Hip-hop is one of the biggest and most influential types of musical art forms today. Despite being one of the biggest genres today, the history of this type of music is one that not many know. One of the main reasons for this is because of how different hip-hop is today than how it originally started. In today's hip-hop, it's become more of a rarity for artists to speak on the topics the art was founded on. Some of these include calling out on social and racial injustices the community faced, and speaking on the poor conditions those in the inner cities endured. These messages have been eclipsed by ideals of violence and riches, yet there are still artists today who fight to continue hip-hop's true message and who strive through the art form to give back to these same communities and let the public learn the forgotten history of hip-hop. Before we can focus on the music, we must first take a look back at its origins and the influences that shaped the genre. Hip-hop started in New York's South Bronx in 1973. It began as DJ Kool Herc took two records and mixed them into entirely new beats for dancers and MCs to use. MCs were the equivalent of today's rap artists. They would use a beat mixed by a DJ to rhyme over and show off their abilities to flow. Rhymes slowly changed over time, however. Something that was used to show off who was the best rhymer on a DJ's beat turned into a way to tell stories and share experiences of personal hardships. This concept of storytelling through oral tradition is thought to have been taken from African griots, who used to spread knowledge and information to other villages through spoken word. The use of rhymes to tell these stories is believed to have stemmed from slave rhyming games, used for slaves to communicate with one another without the slave owner understanding. Hip-hop adopted from the griots the use of spoken word to share the issues of the community with others, and the use of rhymes and metaphors to create a special kind of communication from African American slaves. Then and now, this art form has been used as a form of resistance against injustices towards the African American community. Hip-hop's innovative ways of rhyming and dancing gave it popularity, being played and practiced at every block party in the city, giving young urban African Americans a chance to come and escape the harsh environments they live in through art. This upbringing in hip-hop culture soon broke out of the city and into the rest of the nation, along with many stories and issues in society and the community. This outcry on social and community issues gave hip-hop music an overall disapproval among white suburban communities, a common theme between most music and black culture. This disapproval against hip-hop is most likely because some white suburbans do not understand the harsh conditions these artists experience and refuse to listen to or acknowledge any of the issues taking place in those communities. There's a disconnect between the music and white suburbia because the environment between the two are so different that those in the suburbs cannot even imagine some of the things spoken in these songs could happen. This divide in environments can be traced back to events such as the Great Migration, which is when African Americans from the South began to move up north. This movement led to one of the biggest factors that aided in the creation of hip-hop, housing. When more African Americans wished to move into more predominantly white areas, racism in housing began to occur. Organizations would take every measure and use different methods to keep different ethnicities out of white neighborhoods. Methods such as redlining were implemented in housing in an attempt to keep African Americans out of certain neighborhoods. The FHA created redlining in order to single out a particular group of people and limit or deny potential buyers financial services based on their race, considering them a poor financial risk and forcing them to stay or move into poor communities. Organizations would tag housing paperwork to applicants from different races and use justifications such as the African American's income being too low to live in an area or labeled a particular race as a hazard to the community in order to try and keep different ethnicities from becoming a part of these prospering white neighborhoods. This form of segregation set existing urban communities up for failure. They gave barely any funding to those communities, leaving them poverty-ridden and tenants without many options. Violence and crime followed soon after, making an already run-down environment even more hostile. People were outraged with feelings of oppression and injustice against them, angry at the conditions in the communities they were forced into. Rather than submitting to a life of crime and bad choices, some found a way out of crime in the community through art, using hip-hop as a way to express and let out their frustration on social issues for the world to hear. Still alive today, DJ Kool Herc has seen hip-hop through its full evolution, and has seen firsthand the effects hip-hop has had in communities and all the good it has done. Herc, however, has also seen how artists today don't utilize the huge platform they have to spread positive messages, but rather use it to speak about violent acts or boast about how much money they have. Hip-hop's content has changed drastically. In the beginning, an artist would speak on issues such as Ice Cube rapping about cops killing people in the community, or Public Enemy rapping to try and inspire people to fight against these forces, or as they call it, the power. Over time, messages in the songs slowly turned to more vulgar and violent subject matters that focused on killing, money, and the exploitation of women. This change isn't entirely rappers' fault, however. Change in hip-hop subject matter can also be pinned on the music industry. White business people and big corporations bought black-owned radio stations, getting rid of a host's freedom to choose music or speak on what they wanted, essentially taking away the one outlet of information in the community. Next, music corporations began to invest in new hip-hop artists and tell them to act and dress a certain way, but most importantly, pressured them to make lyrics that would sell the most records. This exploitation of hip-hop culture had taken away the roots of hip-hop and the voices of urban communities. Something that had once been used as an escape for the youth to leave behind the violent, illegal acts of their environment was now encouraging them to embrace it. Hip-hop artists' roles as messengers and providers for urban communities soon started to be a thing of the past, along with hip-hop's true ideals of resistance against social injustices. While the music industry did give hip-hop the mainstream media platform it needed, it took away the true essence of hip-hop and it left it to be almost forgotten. True hip-hop still lives on, however, through artists such as Kendrick Lamar, who still speak on issues going on in the community and the nation. Kendrick Lamar is a Grammy Award-winning artist from Compton, California, who through his music shares stories and experiences he's had of living in Compton surrounded by gangs, violence, and criminal acts. Kendrick Lamar is a prime example of hip-hop in its true form as well. Kendrick found a way out through the art form and used his popularity to become a messenger and voice for his community. Kendrick is one of the few artists today who uses his music to carry on hip-hop's ideals into a new generation, spreading awareness of issues to a widespread audience and captivating listeners with his rhymes and beats. An example of Kendrick speaking on social issues in Compton is on his track High Power, where he talks about police harassing kids that were not even doing any criminal activities. Another of today's hip-hop artists continuing to spread the ideals and messages it was founded on is Chance the Rapper, who not only spreads positive messages through his music, but also uses his success to give back to his hometown, Chicago. Hip-hop at its root has always been about the community and how you can give back, which Chance definitely does. Chance has used his political connections to try and bring awareness and reform to the Chicago Police Department in an effort to decrease violence and police brutality in the city. Chance has also provided opportunities to the youth of the city, offering open mic nights and festivals in the park for young artists to express themselves and meet other famous artists such as Kendrick Lamar. In his most recent charitable contribution to his community, Chance donated heating sleeping bags to Chicago's homeless and $2.2 million to the Chicago public school system, making sure the youth in this community have the accessibility and better options than to join gang and partake in criminal activity. Chance and Kendrick are both examples of artists today excelling past their peers and carrying on hip-hop's original values, and whom continue to fight to make a change through music and action. Both artists are utilizing their platform to their fullest potential by showing that their mainstream platform can still be used to spread positive and important messages today. They are demonstrating, most importantly, that hip-hop can still be used to bring change to the communities, the nation, and the world. Kendrick and Chance, along with a few other artists today, are moving hip-hop's history forward, and for the better, bringing ideals that the founder himself, DJ Kool Herc, has said, "It ain't about keeping it real, it's about keeping it right."